Wow, welcome back to the final session for this afternoon. My name is Rachel, and it's fantastic to have every one of you join us. So far, I hope that the conference has made you feel inspired and has encouraged you to continue the conversation and all the actions. I have been in so many of the discussions this afternoon, and it's just amazing and fantastic to hear the panel. And your engagement this afternoon has been phenomenal. So, massive thank you to everyone that is joining us. I'm just waiting as the numbers go up. It's just been a beautiful day, and we continue to celebrate all the women innovators that have joined us, the moms, and every other person, our allies, the men. We are just so grateful to everyone that has joined us, and we will continue to keep the conversation going in this last session. We have a special guest to help us with the final session today. And we are glad to have Katrina with us today. And I'll just say a little bit about Katrina before I hand over to her. It's a massive privilege to have her close the session today. She has an international career spanning 37 years and has had a variety of roles as she has navigated through the very top of a multinational engineering and technology company. Recently, she stepped off the corporate treadmill. Don't we all know that corporate treadmill? She stepped off the corporate treadmill and she set up her very own company, and she set up her own plural career where she has a number of board roles, and she'll be telling us more about that, her own sustainability consultancy, and she is a professional mentor. Throughout today, we've heard about the importance of mentors, of allies, of coaches as we journey together as women innovators. So she's worked on both charity and private sector. In her words, in Katrina's word, which I really like, she wants to use her lived experience. And we heard that word a lot today as well. Katrina wants to use her lived experience to support others. We only have 15 minutes today with Katrina, but she's going to tell us her story. And the other word we had today is around storytelling, about a time in her career where she experienced the joy of having an innovative opportunity. And then please feel free to use the chat, and we'll try to take as many questions as possible before we close today. So without taking any much time, it is a great privilege, Katrina, to invite you to tell us your story. You're welcome.
So thank you very much, Rachel. Great to be here on International Women's Day. Hope everyone has had a great day of discussion, debate and sharing. Breaking the bias is something I think I've been doing for a very long time, and we should today recognise all the women who have gone before us and upon whose shoulders we stand. I must give a shout out to my mum. She would have been 95. Oh, it's Philip. On the 19th of March. She was born in 1928, was a teenager during the Second World War, and I am reminded of the difficulties she must have lived with as I watch the terrible situation in Ukraine today. My mum didn't have any opportunity to go to further education, although she was incredibly clever. I was the first woman in her family to attend higher education. I put that down to my mum, who said to me, "You are a smart, tenacious redhead. You can do anything, and don't rely on anyone else for money." Wise words indeed, but perhaps on reflection, born out of the bias she endured as a woman who had to stay at home and be a housewife. As a professional woman, a wife, a mother to three incredible women, I often think back to her words, and she was right. Let's talk about innovation and the power of women to make a difference. My 37-year and counting career has been built through a combination of problem solving and people. And I think about the best times during my career have been created when the people and the problems came together and we did something special. One of those times was back in the 1990s when I was leading an environmental consultancy looking at the problem of regenerating contaminated land. At that time, I would say we were beginning to see more women come in for interview. For me, there was no hesitation to hire the best person at interview. It was also a time when being gay in the office was a whispered conversation or considered something not discussed. I remember a male colleague from a different department sought me out for a conversation about the homophobia he was experiencing. He was in the wrong place, so I transferred him to my team, not because he was gay, but I knew he was going to be a great addition to the team. And that has been my style for the last 3 decades. I hire, promote, and surround myself with people who are bringing cognitive diversity, challenge, and bring their best work because they belong. The team of three, that is the lady I hired, the guy I transferred, we went to the coffee shop one day with a problem to solve. None of us were experts at the problem, but each of us had a perspective. We hypothesized, argued, laughed. We then got a little scared because we were onto something. We had a plan to build a digital model to solve the problem. And that was in the 1990s, so it was quite cool back then. I didn't take it to my boss for fear of being told it was a waste of time. So I acted as the shield until we developed a working model and developed the outline return on investment business case. Fast forward 6 months. With the full support of the company, we had orders of 4 million in fees for clients clambering to use the digital model we had created, and we were hiring like mad to deliver the problem solving model. It was special because the whole team contributed their creativity, ideas, and challenges in a safe place, and the innovation magic happened. Several times over the following years, the magic has happened, and once or twice I have thought about going out on my own. I do have an inner entrepreneur in me, but she is also quite risk averse. And being a mum, bringing up 3 daughters, and frail parents, I stayed within the corporate walls. In my view, the innovation magic happens when we don't just break the bias, but we embrace it. Back to you, Rachel.
Wow, Katrina, that
I'm
was
sorry, I
a
was spilling. I'm so sorry.
that was a fantastic opening, and I was like, Rachel, hold it together. But thank you so much for sharing that. And we all know about being so vulnerable. There's so much power in being vulnerable. And thank you for sharing that. You shared about your mom. And in so many of the other rooms, I heard many people say today they're celebrating their mom who was the role model. In my case, it was my dad. And so it brings us, to the topic of allies and having people that will clap at the other end and just say that you got this, you can do this. And that's what we're sharing with all the women that have dialed into there and all our allies and advocates. So thank you so much for being vulnerable. I think you've touched on this, but I just wanted to know a bit more. And there may be so many women and so many people in the audience and our allies that have tuned in, our advocates. Where do you find inspiration and creativity, if I may ask, Katrina?
Absolutely. So, for those who know me, I have this inner excitement that pops out when I'm inspired or I have an idea. It's difficult to explain. Some colleagues used to groan when they would open a message from me that starts with, I've got an idea. Um, but actually, more often, it's people who inspire me, their ideas, and, I just absolutely adore the opportunity to co-create. I think it's very exciting. And I was really
Yeah.
inspired by the investment angels in the previous session, and perhaps an
Hmm.
area that I would quite like to explore as well, just to again
Excellent.
harness that opportunity for inspiration and
Hmm.
creativity.
Hmm. Excellent. Thank you for that. That's so eye-opening, Katrina. And you touched on this a little bit. And within the audience, I know that there are so many of our women innovators that are just wanting to be that leader in the field, and they want to be role models, are thinking of the next generation. and they're just wondering how they can move from A to B. There may even be a mom that has just tuned in and she's making lunch for, as we said, two or three of her toddlers, but she has that passion, she has that purpose, she wants to be a woman leader. I just wanted you to share a little bit. What was it like being, a woman leader or a women leader? What tips would you give to some of our audience that have tuned in today?
Oh, wow. Um, well, I believe that my career's it's not been a solo journey. My career is a product of every experience I've had. The common factor, however, is people, colleagues,
Mm,
clients, and communities. The richest
mm,
experience I have no doubt involved interaction with people. So, what was it like to be a woman in my field? Great, but also not so great.
mm,
I've experienced the concept of sometimes people thought I was a curiosity. Okay. When I graduated, there was only 2% female engineers. But
mm.
sometimes being a curiosity, that's not necessarily a bad thing. And it actually
Yeah.
provided more visibility, perhaps, than maybe
Mm,
some male colleagues. However, that said, I've had my fair share of unpleasant discrimination because of my gender, because I was a working mother, and indeed because of my Scottish roots. Um, I tolerated those at the time through ignorance, but I would not tolerate any of my daughters or women
mm,
colleagues and friends today being treated in
mm,
such a manner. And in fact, in many times I have come to the aid of others. So I think a woman's leader's role is you have to come to the aid of others. If you can't
mm.
clear the way, be there to support. As I see this as something that we can do and need to do until there is no bias.
Amazing. Thank you so much because I just feel from the audience, I wish we were in the room. And I just feel it as you're speaking that so many women that have tuned in, so many innovators and allies and advocates, they are connecting with exactly those points that you've made. Thank you for sharing those experiences with us. I just wanted to know because you have moved career and there may be one or two in the audience today that are thinking of making a change in their career, and I just wanted you to share a little bit. Tell us about a time where you knew that you needed to make a change in your career and how did you go about that?
Well, it's certainly an area that I consider myself to be an expert in. I have many, many stories. But let me give a perspective. If anyone listening today has been promoted and it was a surprise, then you have a well-rounded great boss, but you are in the minority. If, like me, you've had to pitch your value, threaten to leave, or indeed sucked it up and been miserable, then you're sadly in the majority. Sometimes a boss just doesn't know the value of the people they have working for them. And in
Mm,
my opinion, they should not be a boss. Navigating the promotional ladder is an art form, and my advice to my daughters and to those who seek my guidance is don't waste your valuable talent and energy in an organization that doesn't have bosses who appreciate you. You need to look for somebody who's going to be supportive and a boss who is actively pulling you through. So, if it comes to it, leave and have the courage of your worth.
amazing. Thank you for that advice, that bold step. And that's so helpful. Thank you, Katrina. And today, we're celebrating many fantastic women innovators and women innovation winners. And the topic for this year's celebration is breaking the bias. I just wanted to throw that back to you. How how did you break the bias? You've touched on some of this in the conversation, but I just wanted to ask.
Yeah, as I mentioned, and perhaps we didn't have the sophisticated language we now have around bias and all its forms and how it manifests. But as I mentioned, I have from an early stage worked with a diverse group of people around me. You know, I early on realized that that was the best way to work. I value opinions from people who come from completely different walks of life, different experiences, at one point during my career, I was sat inside a group on a management team full of yes men, literally yes men. Nobody would challenge. And I'm sorry, I look at somebody like Putin today and I think, if only he had a diverse group around him, and I'll just leave it there. Let me go back to this. I do remember I built some teams, some project teams for a specific requirement. And I remember a male colleague asking me why some such and such was at a meeting. And it was clear he just didn't get it. But I didn't even respond. Cultural transformation is something I've worked significantly in throughout my career. And, I'm the first to stand up and advocate that culture totally is the way to go. I can tell you a little story about when my chief executive and I were talking one day. This was about 6 years ago, 7 years ago. We discussed mental health. And I said to him, I said, look, there's a grassroots desire within the organization. We need to do something more to destigmatize the conversation about mental health.
Yeah.
And we need to move forward from thinking about it as a weakness and a problem. And I was actually taken aback when my CEO goes, yeah, right, great, let's do it. I kind of was ready to be told no. But
Yeah.
he immediately told me the story of his son's mental illness and how much that had impacted on his family and his work. So we then
Yeah.
got to talking about how we could help all employees to support their families and, importantly, themselves to have better mental health. And, I was really proud, it didn't particularly break the bias once and for all, but what I saw
Yeah.
was it was starting to eat at the edges. You know, I was able to facilitate the grassroots movement to become mainstream. And,
Yeah.
we trained 2,000 mental health advisors across 50 countries, and we moved forward to a culture where it was okay not to be okay. And I truly believe that this is a great way to start to really break the bias. 5 years on after that, I was very, very proud that that one conversation with the
Yeah.
CEO had on changing the conversation around mental health
See.
and well-being. And for me, it starts with the ambition to have a
Yeah.
culture where people feel safe and
Yeah.
belong, irrespective of the bias.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you, Katrina. I don't want this to stop. I'm really enjoying the conversation. And I think, note to self and to everyone that has dialed in, we need to keep the conversation going. I am just so proud of, the conversations that we've had today. And they've both been touching, not just this session. There were some sessions that I thought, oh, is that it here? Because everyone brought the passion and purpose. And this is why we will keep the conversation going. But we're drawing to an end. I just wanted, we have over 100 people on the screen, Katrina, and we are just drawing it close to this fantastic event. I just want you to give them your own International Women's Day. There's so many women innovators. There's so many women that have a business idea. They're at that point, they need a break and they are knocking on the door and they want to have an answer. I just want you to speak to those women innovators, to our allies, to our advocates, to our friends and mentors that have dialed into the screen now. I just want you to give them your message. Over to you.
Oh, thanks. Nothing like building me up. Well, what would my International Women's Day message be? Well, first of all, really proud to be here. And this is one of many times that I've been able to stand on a stage and talk about International Women's Day. And every year I'm just blown away by the energy and the passion and the desire to be heard and to do great things. So first of all, congratulations to everybody who's taken part today. It's just phenomenal. My response, and it's maybe very particular to my experience. I think it's really important that for everybody, you have a value, you have a worth. Don't rely on anyone else to build your career, and seek out good people who, in their unique ways, add value to your life, to your team. And if you lead by inclusion every day, then the innovation magic will happen. Thank you, Rachel.
Amazing. Oh, thank you. That was wonderful. We haven't even scratched the questions. We haven't looked at the chats because of the time. But let's keep this conversation going. Let's connect. And the links will be put into the chat, and we'll be sending out the link. Connect with the Women in Innovation community at KTN. We've built a massive community of over 9,000 women that are engaging with us, which we're so grateful for. Because of our time, I'm not able to go through every single sessions, but I have learned so much from all the sessions that I took part in, that I attended, right from the opening address and all the breakout rooms that we have. Some of the points I noted were women are such an untapped source of design, inspiration, and unmet need, and so many others. There were sessions around imposter syndrome, and one of the tips I wrote down was surround yourself with positive and inspirational women and men, mentors, allies, supporters who have done the thing you're trying to do. It helps to make things seem more possible. And also the session, another session I attended around allyship in innovation. I put down some of the points that one of the men shared with us and said he seeks to support women, he seeks to mentor, and then to coach women even onto boards and invest in women. These are some ways that we could support women. But working on the Women in Innovation program and seeing the various cohorts, something I have learned as an individual supporting women to achieve their dreams is the peer to peer support that I have seen. It's so powerful when women entrepreneurs support each other. And I want to leave that as we bring this session to a close, that we'll continue to keep the conversation going and we'll continue to support each other. And now I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you. I must say thank you to the fantastic, wonderful audience that have been with us. And we have been looking at the numbers right from the morning. The numbers haven't really dropped. And this is a testament to the corporation and to everyone really interested in today's event and everyone that has ensured that this event happened. So I just want to attempt to say thank you to everyone. Massive thank you to Innovate UK CEO Indro Makachi that has always supported the Women in Innovation program. The Innovate UK KTN CEO Alicia that has always supported our program. You remember in August, we had the Women in Innovation briefing session and we had 3 CEOs supporting us. We couldn't do this without the support that we have enjoyed from our CEOs. So massive thank you to our CEOs. And what more can I say about our partners? Innovate UK, Edge, Innovate UK, KTN, and Innovate UK. We can't say thank you enough to our mentors, to the monitoring officers, to our innovation and growth specialists that have supported the women innovators that are here today and the award winners. Massive congratulations. We're celebrating today. We're celebrating our award winners. And we used to say when we're younger, the sky is the limit, but that has changed now. The sky is not even the limit. The women that we have today are going beyond the sky, and that is why we are celebrating with every one of you. Again, I just want to thank every panel member. I went to so many panels and the discussions were robust, they were rich and so inspirational. Massive thank you to the panel members, to the chairs, right from the morning. We couldn't organize this event without you. And also, I like to come down and thank the various communication teams. I like to thank the UKRI comms team, Helen Mead, PJ, and so many other colleagues that have worked so tirelessly to see this day come to fusion. I like to thank the Innovate UK comms team, Richard Roberts, Rebecca, and so many other colleagues in Innovate UK comms team that have really supported the Women in Innovation program. And how could we do today without Innovate UK KTN colleagues? And I just like to say massive thank you to Emma, to Karen, to Chloe, to Emily Lamb, to Selene, And oh, Veronica, thank you so much for today. You all have been amazing. And that's why we're celebrating the fantastic Women in Innovation winners today. And I also like to extend a massive thank you to Innovate UK EDI team. So Hasna, Vanessa, Katie, and to the head of the EDI team in Innovate UK, Emily Knott. We like to say massive thank you for all the preparation that has gone on behind. And now I just want to thank our audience. We're about to close, few minutes to closing, and we still have over 100 people on the call. We couldn't do this without you. We just want to say that please keep the conversation going, engage, and continue to feel inspired. And to every woman innovator that has dialed in today, keep going. As Katrina said, keep going. Don't stop. Keep the dream. Keep the dream. So many of you have fantastic innovation. Essentially, you may be the one that has the answer that will help with some of the societal, economic, and environmental problems that we're seeing today. Please don't give up the dream of that innovation. You will have a breakthrough. And once again, massive thank you to everyone that has supported, that has contributed, our partners. We couldn't run the Women in Innovation program without our partners, without organizations, without the charities, and without so many other funders that have supported us. So together, let's keep the conversation going. Let's break the barrier, let's break the bias, and let's continue to celebrate each other. Thank you so much for spending today with us. And I'd like to bring the event to a close. Massive thank you to everyone.